hello. I am so excited. Two of my favorite people are here with me today in the whole world. This is the Still Human podcast with Elaine and Kathy, and we wanted to start a podcast because we both were in these $1 million masterminds, and there were these things, major things that nobody told us. And so we were like, we wanted to share what it's like, what our journey has been, to pull the curtain back and to have a comedic look at it. And then we have amazing, fabulous guests who come on and drop their pearls of wisdom and show their vulnerable side. So without further ado, I've got Kathy Keegan, the amazing, amazing coach, speaker, author, and my mentor, colleague, and friend, Noreen Howard, who is one of the original gangsters for females in business. And I could go on and on and on, but I thought I would let both of them talk a little bit about what they're up to. So welcome, ladies. And Noreen, we're so happy that you're here.
Oh, Noreen, it's so exciting. Everybody hears about me all the time. There's plenty of time for that. I want to hear about you. I love your website. I love your story of how you started to turn things around. And I can't wait to hear all about it.
Well, thank you. And that's probably my least favorite subject, is to talk about me. But I will start with, it's ironic that this is my very first podcast visit that guest that I've been. Yes,
we're breaking the cherry.
I've spoken on stages. I've done lots of things and big events in the corporate world, but I've never done a podcast. So you're my inaugural podcast.
Oh,
and the irony of it is that with the humor that you're bringing, I'm probably the least funniest guest that you will ever have on your podcast.
Okay.
I disagree. And here's the thing, and I've said this before. When people say, oh, I'm not funny, I always think they just haven't gotten to flex that muscle enough. And I would much rather play with somebody like that than somebody who goes, oh, I'm hilarious. I'm so funny all the time. That is usually like, actually, you're not. Your employees laugh because they have to. Right? Am I right?
Yeah.
I call that a hostage situation. And the thing is, and the other end of that spectrum is, if in fact you aren't funny, we shall now then look for other people who are even less funny than you are. So no matter how we stack
and how does that help you?
Because it's, again,
how does that help you?
I'm goal and results driven, and so this becomes another thing that we can look to find. So the way I see it is, it's a win-win all around.
Mm-hmm. Right.
I love it.
Well, getting back to your original question, you struck a chord with me there, because I too am goal and results driven, intentionally driven. And what I'm doing now after 35 years in the corporate world is coaching and consulting with women entrepreneurs to become millionaires so they can make the impact they want to make. Not that we can't make the impact when we have nothing, because we should and we can, right? But the numbers in some senses in some cases on women own businesses are really exciting, in that we start businesses at a faster rate than any other segment of the population, but the results are not that great in terms of revenue and income growth, right? So less than 2% of women-owned businesses ever hit the $1 million mark, and about 11% ever hit the six-figure mark. So it doesn't mean that there aren't some that are tremendously successful. There are. But what I have seen is that our ability to fully self-express, which is a big part of the work that I do, is very much aligned with our ability to take care of ourselves, our families, to be able to sell, to be able to focus and serve our clients. And without that financial piece, really true wealth can't happen, I don't think. So So true wealth is really what I'm all about. The leadership, the keeping yourself in the game, focusing on the right things, and creating what is really in your heart to create in a way that aligns with your values. So that's it.
Yeah,
Nutshell.
awesome.
Gorgeous.
It's gorgeous. And, I just want to say, like, I would have quit my business several times if it hadn't been for Noreen, because, I didn't realize, you don't know what you don't know. And you don't know that you don't know that you don't, So, I didn't realize that my mindset it was in the gutter. No, it was just, there were some things. I think you can be learning all this stuff, but then there's inside work you have to do. There's mindset work, you get to do. And also, I've worked with Noreen now for several years and learning to choose my words more carefully. So, there's so many things. And as business women, like I love coaching, I love teaching, but like the selling part, the uncomfortable conversations, I was like, oh, and that's still an opportunity for growth for me. But I feel like so many women have so much to give, and there's a lot of opportunity to help, and I have this wonderful accountability group. I just love them so much. And they'll say things like, oh, this woman is a lead, and my first thought is, I'm going to screw it up. Or I have this prospect list, and I have stories about every single person on the list. Or, and I'm always like, yes, we found the weed. Let's pluck it out. And you've been part of that journey. But, so anyway, I'm so excited. And, Kathy, what's your take on what she just...
Oh my gosh.
Pearls of wisdom that she just went.
Oh, well, when I'm thinking back to, there was a great article in the New York Times maybe about 6 or 8 months ago, and it was talking about the difference in the way women and men are educated from the get-go, if I might quote one of my favorite movies, The Heat, which is a girl buddy film.
Is that with Melissa McCarthy and Sandra Bullock?
Oh. It's so funny. And so the things that are expected of women circulate around perfection and circulate
absolutely.
around a fixed mindset, whereas men or boys are given more opportunity to have that growth mindset. So it's more about the effort they put in as opposed to what they produce. And so even in the workplace, you're having to work to change people's mindsets from the performance expectation that men have for women when they're giving them a performance review and a raise, and then the expectation of, he's a really great guy, I know he's good for it, because I saw more great guys get hired that did not outperform the women in the workplace, but they were making more money. Mm-hmm. And so it's a huge thing, and I love that you are focusing on this, because I think that we still need that support. It doesn't matter how old I am or how young I am, that still is in the collective. And so it's something that we really do need to work to change. Mm-hmm. So that it allows, and just to allow everybody to thrive. And there are situations, for example, I have my 94-year-old father-in-law upstairs on the 16th floor. And there are times when he can hear me, but there are times when he can't. And I know I've said something, and I've told Doug about this. I'll say it. He does not hear it. And then he says it as if it's his own. And this happened a lot to me. And I bet that happened to you, Noreen, in the corporate space, where you're like, is it something I can change in this environment? Is it worth it? Can I do something here to make a change so that I am heard better? And I was able to make a lot of adjustments and get that going. But that's also a very real thing, is how to be heard and seen and acknowledged.
Right. Exactly. And actually, I have to say that the corporate experience was huge in being able to build the tools in my toolbox, so to speak, because there was nothing more important than effective communication in the corporate world, as well as being able to be part of really running the economic engine where you're making money for them. which is why I left. I figured I've made millions for these Fortune 500 companies over the years. It's time to do that in my own business, even though, you know, it was a good life and they were good to me. But that experience taught me, as one of the few women coming through the ranks at a time when there weren't a lot that got past certain levels, that if you could communicate and build relationships and make money for them, you were golden, right?
Yep.
And so it was brilliant that way, and that's why I said I'm going to transform that experience and touch more lives, 1 million women, $1 million, so that they can touch 1 million more people, right? So,
Love it.
I'm on my road. I'm not there by any stretch of the imagination, but it's a mission, and there have been some. There has been some growth or development on the corporate side too. A lot of women entering the force now. There really is a little closer gender parity, if you will. And I'm sorry, something came up on my screen. But where before there was a huge difference between what women and men made. There still is a difference, but you see that gap far more so as you get higher in the ranks.
Yeah.
Right. Versus entry level.
Yeah, I think progress.
I love it.
Progress is
Go ahead,
definitely.
sorry.
I think progress is definitely being made, and I also appreciate the fact that you appreciate your corporate experience, as do I. I don't ever want anyone to think that in any way I'm bashing it, because I'm not. It gave me powerful tools. It taught me many, many powerful lessons. And so it's important. You can use wherever you are as sort of a playground or a laboratory to try out skills that you might want to grow within the business you're in or on your own. So Noreen setting out on her own, Elaine and I, all of us just setting out on our own with the support of other women, which is kind of how we keep going.
I love that. And to me, that's like the improv rule of yes and. It doesn't have to be, oh, I was in corporate. Oh, and it's like, it's all good. It's all lessons. And that, I have to share this, New York Times, Paula Kaplan. One of my passions is storytelling. I love telling jokes. I love telling stories. I love helping people tell their stories. And I'm like, we need to tell this woman's story more. She just passed at 74, and she was
you're kidding me.
Yeah, it's
the playwright.
She was a playwright. She wrote 11 books. She was a feminist psychologist. And she challenged Freud. She was a great defender of women's honor. And there was this whole image of women in the 70s of women as being vicious and cruel to each other. And, that whole, if you're powerful, you're a bitch conundrum. Anyway, so she was just amazing. I just read this short article, and it sounds like she was just a huge fighter of the fight and to break through the myths of the women masochist. Anyway.
And I think what you're talking about, what Paula did is, these people who are trailblazers, and the same with you, Noreen, the levels you reached in corporate America became even lonelier places for women because you were the pioneers.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And things are still lonely in that world, as well as for entrepreneurs, which is why I'm such a big proponent of communities. And certainly now in the times of the pandemic, people feel even more isolated. But there was so I understand you're a reader, Kathy. And,
yes.
I said she started reading like 5 books at a time, which I get smarter just hanging out next to her. It's so cool.
Yes, I too love to read. I go through binges, but I just came off of one. But there was an article, you probably know about it, that the current general surgeon, Vivek Murthy, who was the ex-general surgeon at one point too, before he was rehired, wrote an article that was published in the Harvard Business Review called titled something about the loneliness epidemic, and it related to exactly what you're talking about, not just for women, but just loneliness as you climb the ranks, and just loneliness as an epidemic in our society, and what really has spurred that, why that's happened. So it's a brilliant article. I've used it in different leadership trainings and so forth. But if you're interested in that kind of thing and haven't seen it, I would urge you to look.
I'm going to read it.
Yeah.
Oh my God!
It's
Something
cool.
you haven't read yet?
Yes,
that's amazing.
yes, and I think it's important because it's one of the reasons coaching's important. Because for that person who's risen in the ranks, what I found, the higher up I went, the fewer people I could really talk to about stuff that I just needed to get. I just needed to be able to say it out loud, hear myself think, but also have somebody there to sort of ask a good thought-provoking question. Have you considered this? Have you considered that? That's what a coach does. And that's why you will find at these higher levels in organizations, oftentimes people do have coaches to help them hear themselves think, and to, it's sort of like at the Olympics, there's not one of those performers, elite performers, that does not have a coach, right?
Right.
And so it's just a plug. I'm going to put a little plug in here for the importance and the value of coaching.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think everybody should have a coach. Because we can't see for ourselves usually what others can see in us. That's why I have my own coaches, right? And also the more I grow, the better I am for the people I coach, right? But I also run the spectrum of coaching on one side, mentoring or training in the middle, and then consulting on the end, when advice-driven consultation is really what's required in certain instances. So I really enjoy doing all of it. But the coaching is great because when, as you well know, both of you, when somebody can come to their own decisions about things, there's nothing more powerful. It's far more powerful than somebody telling them that they should do it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. In fact, actually, a part of the brain shuts down when they're getting advice. So,
what do you mean? I don't know what you mean.
No, there's It's actually true. There's actually a part of the brain that when you're being given advice, there's a part that kind of goes offline because the brain is trying to be efficient, right? It's 20% of your total energy in your body, this guy up here or gal. And so it's going to look for shortcuts. So if someone's giving you advice, your brain's like, okay, we'll just knock that one offline. And so it's not the same. It is not the same as what you were saying, Noreen, about having been asked a question and having to really dig deep and say, oh, aha, that's what I think it is. It's very powerful.
Yeah, it's so exciting.
It
and
is.
To me, it's so much about self-mastery of like, how do I stay in touch with my emotional life and be vulnerable, but also use critical thinking? Because, my amygdala got way over, fight, flight, freeze, fight, please, fight, And so I'm still learning how to use my critical thinking, but then be able to drop back into my heart. And that's ethics practice. And that's part of what I do in my coaching world. But yeah, I have to say, I've been so inspired by, I love the gymnasts. And I know several people are like, it's not a real sport, but those women are flying through the air 4 inches. They've got 4 different things. They don't just do one thing like ice skating. They have to do the uneven bars. Then they have to do this dance thing on the floor. Then they have to get to do the balance beam. And then, and the vault. I can't even do a cartwheel. I'm always
right.
And
the balance beam. I can't even do the ankle tree pose in yoga without falling over.
And if you've watched, and you can tell they've been competing from such a young age, so they're prepared. But if you look at, they're on the balance beam, and there's all kinds of stuff going on right around them. Not to mention languages. As someone who is easily overwhelmed, sensory, I just am amazed. They're so fierce. and so focused, and such a great lesson, you know? So yeah, and to me, that's such a great example of the power of coaching. And I'm also really, not that I'm happy that, you know, Simone had a bad mental whatever, but I think that really helps people realize mindset is so important.
Right.
And
as well as feminine power, as well as her ability to own her power to say, this is not happening for me right now.
Right.
Right. Not out of, she has certainly performed and excelled and mastered things that the world has seen in the past. So everybody is aware of what she's capable of and what she's done. Right. But her ability to say, this is not a good thing right now for me, and it's best for me to step back, shows that she owns exactly who she is. She's brilliant. She's still brilliant. She's got, most people supported her, right, in this.
Right.
There's always those crazy critics, but...
Right. Yeah, I have two thoughts on that, someone, you know, Brene Brown says, if you're not in the arena, you don't get to criticize me. You know, we're not in the same arena.
Preach, sister, preach.
And when you think of what she did, now she just won the bronze. Spoiler alert. Of course, this will be published like weeks after the Olympics. But anyway, it's worth to put it out there anyway. But she just got bronze on the balance beam because she was able to come back for that one element. And we don't know the timing of when our mind or body is going to feel or be a certain way. We just don't know what that's going to be. And so I love that she took her own power back, or kept her power, stayed firm in her decision, and then when the time was right, come back and say, I think this I can handle, because those moves they do are in fact death-defying. So same with skating.
Absolutely.
You know, they can die doing these moves. And so this idea of, if you've got something going on in your brain and you can't figure out where you are, it's sort of like, yeah, that's not a good idea. Plus, I got 2 moves named after me, so nobody gets to criticize Simone Biles.
And I have to say, I was happy with the outpouring of empathy that I saw. And, you know, I'm reminded, I remember reading Andre Agassi's book, Open. And I was like, every person in comedy should read this book, because it was more about the mental game and the coaches that would work with him. It was all about his mental, you know, the physical workouts happened, but it was all about what was happening here. So, you know, again, we all love coaching. So,
well, it's the same in business. It's the same in business. It is all about the mental game. I would say at least 80 to 90% of it is. At least 80 to 90%.
That's a great segue, Noreen. Tell us what you're excited about. I know you have this fabulous group that you're doing that I'm so lucky to be in, and then you do Sunday Silver Linings. Why don't you tell our fabulous listeners and readers and leaders about what you're up to?
Well, yeah, I do private one-on-one work. I do groups. I have a group called the Brilliant Feminine Leader, which is a year-long group that combines feminine leadership and business mastery with a lot of marketing and sales focus built into it. And that group is really to develop these women, both women who are fairly new in business, and others who have a footing in business but have plateaued and are really looking to develop further. So that's the current project that's been close to my heart. It's an intimate group, but I wanted to launch it, and I'm all about speed. The other thing that's going on, I do run these free Sunday sessions. Most Sundays of every month, they're published, called Sunday Silver Linings Conversations, that I actually started last year during COVID to provide a venue, a forum for women or anybody. We have a horse guy from Texas that shows up some weeks, and this was a chance to really work with some of the soft skills, if you will, some of the leadership skills, because nobody wants to wake up on a Sunday and be cozy and have a cup of coffee and drive, drill down into business per se. So we make it more of a coaching and conversation event where I usually present a certain theme like happiness or confidence, and I've done some research and I kick it off, and then we hear from the group and we do self-reflection. And it's really become what started as, okay, we'll do this for a few months until everyone's vaccinated. These people who are coming who are not private clients or in my group said, we will pay for this. Please keep this going. So, but right now it's still an event that anybody is welcome to join. And then the other thing that I actually discovered about myself was Elaine knows, because she was one of my brilliant leaders who I interviewed. I did an all-day interview series last November where I interviewed about 11 women experts. And the whole day was around feminine conversations on power, money, leadership. And I'm actually going to be launching a 21-day interview series in the November timeframe. So that's the big thing that's coming up, as well as some other things that I've got in the works, but I'm not really at a stage that
to share yet.
To share, right? So
okay.
So there's always something. I'm traveling a lot this year. I have a lot of other passions too. Elaine can tell you I'm very committed to my work, but, and like I said, I move with speed. I shared with Elaine today that my son is in Israel right now. And I said, you know what? I've always wanted to go. I've never gone. We're all going to Italy in October, the family. I'm going to come over and spend a couple of weeks with you. So I make the decision, I get online, I book the airfare, and I started and it's the end of this month, like the 21st. I'm planning to leave of August, right? I booked it last week, only to find out that Israel's not letting people in. So,
oh, no.
Sorry.
Unless you're part of something special that they can arrange. So I'm sending in a permission slip, so to speak, to see what I can do. I'll somehow make this happen, if not now, later. But that is that's an important part for these women. In terms of the women I work with, that when we are coming from a place of desire and knowing that there's a vision that we have, but then there's this starting point that's like 3 years down the road and everything else is important except that, that's a big issue for women, right? So
getting ready to get ready to get ready.
Exactly. And it's like, we just have to move. We have to move. And you'll learn as you move. You'll grow as you move. And if you're not doing that, you're not learning and you're not growing. So
I love it. And I think you were saying how, if a man has 30% of the job requirements, he will go ahead and apply for the job. But if a woman has 95%, she's like, oh, I'm not ready.
Yeah, I'm not qualified. I'm not 100% of what they want.
Right.
That's what
that's that perfection. I need to be 100%. And the other is, well, I'll give it a try. And so for everything, what you're basically saying is just give it a try. Start now.
Yeah. Just do it. Yeah.
Right. One of my favorite quotes is, can you be curious rather than judgmental with yourself? I'm like,
huge.
So, and Kathy Keegan, what are you up to? I know you just finished this cool training and you have this fabulous new quiz.
Yeah, I just came up with a really fun assessment for people to do just to get a temperature check on where they are in their careers. Right now, one of the things that's going on, it hasn't really started happening, but people talk about it like it will, the Great Resignation. What has happened in the last year and a half is people have had time, space, a lot of change, a lot of disruption, and they're thinking very differently about what they want from a work life and how they want that to be, how they want to show up. We've learned things that, the way we gather. We've learned things about gathering online that can be actually fine and not bad. And so I feel like there are a lot of people who are interested in making some kind of a change. And what I want to help people understand is there are different kinds of change. It doesn't necessarily mean, oh my God, I got to overhaul everything. Sometimes that's called for. Sometimes just a small adjustment, a little shift is all you need to make and get a huge win for yourself. And so this is a big time of reconsidering and evaluating. And so I have this adorable little quiz, and I have the catchiest URL for it. Just wait till you hear this. careerrevisionassessment.com. What team of brilliant minds sat around and thought up that brilliant name? That was,
oh my God. You're so brilliant. You're so brilliant. I love it.
It's perfect.
It's perfect.
Yeah.
It's perfect.
Yeah. So that's pretty much, and just enjoying. We went to the concert that didn't exist on Saturday. I was wondering because
You're such a name dropper. What happened?
I'm not a Lolla girl, but Lollapalooza was in town here for the last 3 or 4 days. Ooh. And there was also supposed to be a concert at Millennium Park. The classical orchestra, the Chicago Orchestra, does free concerts during the summer, and it's fabulous. And so you pack a picnic and you go. And I thought, how is that going to work with Lollapalooza, amped for sound and this? Well, I got my answer. They weren't doing a concert that night. So we showed up with our picnic basket, da-da-da-da-da. And so we actually just went in. Chicago people are very nice here. And so instead of New York, where someone would be like, it's closed, it's canceled, get out of here. In Chicago, they have a representative from the symphony saying, no, we don't have anything now, but would you like to scan this code and hear the lecture they're doing over at whatever? They had like all these other available resources. So, and so I got my answer too, because as we sat there eating our picnic, you could hear Lollapalooza quite clearly. And so, there is no compromise. It's this or that's not a yes and.
Oh my gosh. Well, you got to go to your concert. It makes me think of, I did a workshop in my friend's office. She was a psychotherapist on Fifth Avenue on a Sunday. And it's a Sunday. We're going to do this thing from like noon to 3, la la la. So we had some people and we're like doing this meditation. It's change your money mindset. And I was sitting here with this YMCA. And it was the Pride parade on a freaking Sunday. And, like who didn't do their homework? So we were like, okay, you can't fight Pride. So we just worked with it because what else are you going to do? So,
that's so great.
Oh my God. Well, this has been so much fun. So in closing, Noreen, I want you to tell us if people want to know more about how to get a hold of you. A great entryway might be Sunday Silver Linings. How do they do that? What's the best way?
Okay. Well, the best thing to do is to email me directly, Noreen, because I have the link for it, but honestly, I don't have it up right now to give it to you. So
you don't have a clever name like careerrevisionassessments.com?
I don't.
Not yet, but
I'll send the link out, but
so they can just go to Noreen, email you at Noreen at
NoreenHoward.com. Yes,
okay.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
And my team will get back to them with the link, and we welcome you, and we want to hear from you, and
it's really fun. And if people want to know more about what you're up to, that'll be on your website too.
Yes, everything will be on the website in terms of the interview series and so forth. Yes.
And she does send out these fabulous written stories and emails. So I encourage everybody to get on her newsletter list. So
yeah, awesome. If they join now, there's a link for 7 essential marketing tips, which is, so if anybody wants that, you can go to NoreenHoward.com and fill in your information and you'll get that. So
Okay, awesome. And Kathy Keegan, will you tell us again about your new fabulous quiz? Because I took it and I levitated. No, okay, it wasn't
Well,
quite. I just scared the cat. Sorry.
I could rename it, but I give you a choice of 4 answers, and those 4 answers are grr, meh, okay, yes.
That's on your signature.
Yes, it's on my signature. And you can always get me at kathykeegan.com and Kathy at kathykeegan.com. And I'd love to chat with you, and I'd love to hear from you. And Elaine, what about toi? How would one get in touch with
God.
you?
Well, thanks so much for asking. So, yes, the best way is Elaine at captivatethecrowd.com. I'm starting a new group program on Wednesday for these really cool chronic healers. I'm really psyched about doing that as a group with them. And then I do a free masterclass at least once a month on video, and starting another one on story. I'm also going to be doing more Clubhouse. So hopefully both of you can join me on Fridays at 7. So the best way is just reach out to me, Elaine at captivatethecrowd.com. Because my mission is a million people making kindness cool again and helping heal the world with love and laughter through story and however else we can come from our hearts and with our businesses. So
among the 3 of us, let me tell you, I want to end needless workplace suffering. I think we've got this covered, the 3 of us. So please join us.
Yes, absolutely.
Awesome.
You're all doing wonderful
yeah.
things. I will leave you with this because it was really, at least from my end, Elaine knows I've been on a special meal plan, and what's cool about the items, the food that's delivered, they give a super food spotlight on each item, and this one is turmeric, and there's a name, Gauri, Gauri, which is the Sanskrit word for turmeric, which means she who is shining and brilliant. That's what it means. So to all the women out there who are shining and brilliant, and if you don't love turmeric, you may want to start eating it.
Wow.
I just thought it was very apropos.
That is the perfect way to wrap us up. Brilliant and shining. Thank you, Noreen.
Yeah. Thank you,
Thank
Noreen.
you both. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank
you.
you.
So much fun. Bye, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you so much for listening. And